something new.
Yeah.
Here comes the wisdom. Let's hit record. Sorry.
Much of the attachment come from, when we between 0 and 5,
Mhm.
when we
Like,
were vulnerable and depending on the world outside.
yes. And just learning or just putting words and meanings together.
Hmm. Yep.
You know? And so as we learned to see words, we learned to define them. We learned what they meant, and that was sloppy.
Yeah.
I mean, it is messy because no one, well, because people correct you, tell you how to do it. Which, like, if we look at that as like everyone loves to be told what to do, yet people love to tell people what to do because they think they know. There's again, it's like all attached to knowing, being right. Yeah, those are just a few of them.
That's why we are so much attached to the doing more than the being.
Mm, yes, because and it's like to add to that, it's like because we can see it, like we see it, we give so much weight to everything we see.
Yeah.
And you think of it as like you don't really give your hearing all that weight because if you hear it, you're waiting to see it.
Mm.
These are just our senses, right? Our senses that we've attached to. So the one of the keys. Thank you for that powerful question, by the way, Jesse. What I've learned, over the course of many years is the real key to creating and to getting into alignment and attracting slash creating what you want is actually detachment, releasing attachment to outcome, choosing it, you know, but clear out the resistance and release the attachment. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so detach. Yeah. And that's easier said than done in our when we've been conditioned to be a certain way, but that doesn't work. Attaching and holding on to things does not work. I've learned that the hard way over, almost 50 years of life now. Because we attach to an unresolvable structure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Like the problem solving structure is unresolvable. And I've really been realizing this lately, even in like conversations. Um, so like complaining, complaining about situations is an unresolvable structure. And that's what our society is built on. As you know, we got a neighbor situation and you can complain to the authorities and, if a law is being broken, then a fine is issued or, it's dealt with accordingly or whatever. But that's a problem solving structure. It's a complaining structure. It's not actually going to resolve what's going on with that person that's causing them to be that way. It's actually going to just push their buttons more.
Yes. Telling them what to do, right?
Yeah,
And it's reactive. It's like causing, it's like reactive. It's that's there, and it's like, okay, now I'm going to react to it, but it's always lagging. It's never out in front.
so it's like, how can I get in front of that?
Mhm. It's always the present behavior is causing the future.
Yeah. So create a new reality now by being in the end result experience emotionally of that now, really,
Yeah.
and then detach from any desired outcome of this so-called problem resolving itself. Just detach
Mhm.
from that, drop it. Like it's not, it's, yeah,
Other words are surrender to the attachment, let the attachment go,
yeah. Real ease, release.
release. Yeah. But you have to see it, meaning like you have to become aware of it in your structure, like in your
Right.
life. And it's like how we attach to all sorts of things, but what I'm looking for is the real barbs, the ones that like get real deep, get personal, their judgments, their blames, their angers. They take all different flavors.
I see this as I see this. It's funny because now, you know, knowing what we know and learning what we've learned, I can see that my self-conscious wants this to be different. So my self-conscious is trying to problem solve. And then my unconscious is going, this is normal. This is what we're used to. This was our experience in the past when we were such and such years old. And so let's keep creating more of this. And then my superconscious is just like, what do you want? What do you want? Let's move towards that. Let's create it. Let's have some fun. Let's not have fun, but like let's create it. What do you want? My self-conscious is like, I want this, but I want a peaceful home environment. I want a lovely, peaceful, mutually respectful marriage. And, there's a lot that I want. But when self-consciously I'm fixated on problem solving, I'm just collapsing back into that psychological tension, which is past oriented, and it drags me out of the creative orientation. So yeah, it does definitely take surrender to release the attachment to the past or orientation.
So, like one of the you said it. It's like, oh, we learn it early. So it's like our first attachment that I see from our culture is to know. N-O. We attach to know. N-O. No. Now, when you say no right now, it's like, oh, it's neutral. So as you say no to yourself now, it's neutral for the most part. Why? Because there's not a context. It's not relating to anything. It's not attached to anything. It has no meaning, just a no. It's like comfortable. It's like, oh yeah, I'm used to saying no. And if you like, that's one place to look. It's like, where am I saying no? Because the resistance is to, like, the resistance shows up when you say, well, what if I said yes? Oh my God, you can't say yes. Blah, 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 blah. But then you'd be responsible, right? And it's like, oh, we won't go there. But it's like, oh, so that's one attachment. Now we're going to go a little bit deeper, and I'd like you to feel this one. Feel this word. Feel how you are attached to this word. And I'd love each of us to go around the room and say it out loud, and then we'll get a feeling for it. All right? Ready?
Okay.
Mine. That's mine. Mhm. Your turn.
Mine.
Mm.
Mine. The toddler's creed. Mine.
And what you'll notice is, like, do you feel like an action? Like, what do you want to do?
Defend my property
There you
from
go.
psychotic neighbors.
Mm.
Mine.
Mm.
Somebody,
Weird.
sometimes we get stuck in our beliefs. We all want to evolve, but nobody wants to change.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want everyone else to change.
That's awesome, Chi.
It is. We do. We want everyone else to change.
Life is not about solving problems. It's about experience a reality.
Hmm. It's not problems to solve. It's a life to live.
Hmm. But there's so many misbeliefs. We, it's not easy to tell people they've been lied to. But even a lie can become reality.
It has. Yeah. Yeah. I can't point to anyone and put blame on it. I can just say it's like it's where we are as humans. Anyone else want to let their mine out?
I'll take the blame. It's all mine.
Mm. And if we,
Good morning, campfirist.
hi Heinz, thank you.
Hey, Heinz.
Hi, Will. Hi, Jesse. Hi, G. Hi, Alyssa. We bring you welcome to this program.
Now I could really relate to yours, Will. Like I could see it. It's like I feel like I'm reaching out there and I'm grabbing it and I'm just pulling it into me. I just like that's the sense I get. So I was like, oh man, Will and we see it very similar.
Yeah. It's like, this is mine. You F off because this is mine and that's yours. So you stay on your side and I'll stay on my side. And you respect that this is mine and I'll respect that that's yours. So because, I never thought it was possible to quote unquote own a property. So now that I quote unquote own a property, even if it's just quarter, these people are um, affecting my right to quote unquote own property. So it's mine. You bugger off. Anyways, that's just the inner child.
And it's like in reality, what is that you only own that property line, right?
Yep.
Reality is that property line, but it's like, oh, but they're doing everything to my property. Well, they're
Yeah.
not. They never crossed your line.
Oh
And
yes, they
see,
have.
well, right,
Oh,
right.
you couldn't even imagine how many times.
Sure.
the story
Yes.
of the past.
Good morning, Annette.
Morning, Annette.
Morning, Annette.
Good morning, everyone. How are you?
Wunderbar.
Wunderbar. Is that a sarcastic wunderbar?
Did it feel sarcastic?
Well, well, I just can't imagine going through some of the things that I've heard you talk about with your neighbors.
I just look at it like it's training.
Training for something, yes.
Yeah, and kind of like a wake-up call to all the hostility within, and
training your patience, your compassion.
Yeah, and learning to detach, like that's been the biggest, and forgiveness, and having compassion for people who are suffering because they're suffering.
Yeah.
But don't use that as the excuse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because there's still responsibility, as an adult, there's still a responsibility to be human and connect with your humanness, your humanity. And but suffering can kind of cause people to detach from that.
But remember a lot about they are also creating their own situations, their own realities.
Oh yeah, and they're choosing that.
Exactly.
And I can see how I have definitely created and felt victimized my entire life, and that is giving my power away to outside circumstances, which makes me feel powerless, which makes me feel angry, which caused me to go into major depression for decades. And I just see the structure now. I see it so clearly now that I understand all these concepts, and it's just like, it's not worth it because I know where that road leads. I already know where that road leads. Why am I even going there now? It's just so familiar.
Well, we like the Will that shows up here
Okay.
because he's open.
Yeah.
And he's observing.
Yeah. Thanks for that.
That's the cool part about it. Because it's your choice, right?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for seeing me.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Just like,
it's
me.
The change will come when we stop blaming something outside of us, outside of ourselves.
And I still do it.
Yeah.
and Annette, you asked, and it's like, Annette, I'm slightly irritated this morning of a interaction last night that it's like again and again and again and again, and it's like, what the fuck? Like,
it doesn't stop.
What the fuck?
No.
Like, is it ever gonna be good enough?
Nope.
Because you keep pointing shit out.
So the question,
me what to do.
Yeah. So the question then is, what's the purpose of that? What's the purpose of you telling me all this? And rather than saying, what do you want me to do? Just ask, what's the purpose of you pointing all this out? Because then they have to dig deep. Because if the answer is, because I want you to change and I want you to do this, this, and this, and this, then you can address that. But if they say nothing, you know that they've gone deep and they don't like the answer. I had an interaction back Labor Day weekend with a coach, and he was just going ape shit all over me. And I was actually a convener for that series, just to oversee stuff. And something had occurred. I talked to the umpires. It was the application of a rule. And so they wanted to correct it. And they said, how do we do it? And I explained, okay, how to do it. Call the coaches, explain what the rule application should have been, and apply the rule. Well, this coach went nuts because he felt I was manipulating the game, when in fact I was just advising the umpires. It was their choice to change it right then and there or just leave it. And I did give him that choice. So as he's trying to tear a strip off of me, I'm standing there looking at him. And I asked him that question. What's the purpose of you yelling at me? And he was quiet for a moment. And then he said, why should I listen to somebody standing there in front of me that's wearing a hat like that? So it had nothing to do. He was trying to find an excuse, but to criticize me about my hat. I was wearing a sun hat. Actually, it's a very nice sun hat. But he didn't like the answer inside of him. But in front of everybody saw that. Everybody saw the answer and realized how immature that answer was.
Wow.
That question is a powerful, powerful question. But you also have to be prepared for the answer they give too. And the answer might be they might just turn around and walk away.
They're dissatisfied inside themselves and they're blaming it.
And you don't have to chase them with that question again. Just when they come at you again, just calmly ask, okay, so what is the purpose of this? What is the purpose of you yelling at me? What's the purpose of you saying all these things?
What are you trying to achieve?
Achieve is a word. As soon as you said that, Chi, it was almost like it's a win. What are you trying to win here? So achieve is good, but used in the right context or using, right? But no, and I understand, it's because, if you speak Danish and English, and there is a limited number of vocabulary words that that are effective, right?
There's a gap.
But yeah.
Wow.
I want you to close your closet so I don't have to open it.
I want you to close your closet so I don't have to open it.
Yep.
Well, if they're open, then hey, that saves you labor, doesn't it?
Two sides, right? One side and the other side.
Yeah.
Close your side so my side's open.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ah.
It's like put the toilet seat down. It's like that type of thing, right?
Well, I can understand put the toilet seat down, especially overnight, because it's not fun going to the bathroom at night in darkness and you actually fall into the toilet. So, the compromise.
Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me what to do.
I know. So the compromise, I had that with my husband at the time too. Is he started leaving it up and I said, can we just have a compromise that at night it stays down?
He got it right away.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't until like one of our kids fell into. So that, Yeah. So it was more of a safety thing. Daytime, everybody can see it, right?
Yeah, right. I got it, but I'm just like, there's that. It's like there's always something that's never good enough.
Well, the thing is, you go into a public washroom, and most of them do not have toilet seats that come. They like in the sense that I'm talking about the lid too, that don't have lids, but there's many that I know of too, where you actually, the toilet seat comes up and you actually have to push it down in order to sit on it. And those are the ones in the, you know, like the donut shops and all that, that both men and women can use, like the family ones. So it doesn't matter. I guess the question is, does it matter in the end?
To someone.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, and I'm attached to it. Like I have my attachment to it. And I have
That
my defense of like, "Ugh."
attachment to preference, and then there's the opportunity to respect someone else's attachment to preference because you love them and you want to be considerate regardless of their attachment to their preference. And you know, it's a reasonable thing, and I can work with that. That's just my perspective. That's my own attachment.
Yeah. Yep.
So thank you so much for the conversation so far. It's brought something for me, Jesse, when you asked about what is our first attachment. And our first attachment is actually love. And what follows is what we then understand to be a guarantee that we will get the love. And love and safety go hand in hand. But the belief around what keeps us safe is also very much integrated with the ego and dominance. Mm. So there's that paradox again. You know, what we think will bring us love and safety actually brings us tension and an unresolvable structure.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that question of yours, Annette. What is the purpose? Because it's because then, as you say, people really have to dig deep. And if I think of Jesse's example, I have a very similar situation in my life. I think it's the attachment of the body and the mind at that point, that there's always got to be a certain level of tension to secure the ego's safety. And that tension becomes the comfort, comfortable place to be in.
And yet it's teaching the ego that it's safe.
And it's not at all.
To do something else, yes.
Yeah. The receiving end of that is, I found that exhausting.
To say the least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's never ending.
Mm-hmm. Yep, it really is never ending.
Never good enough for a guy that's got a pattern for never good enough.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder why they attract him, you know?
Afternoon, Ian.
Hi, Ian.
Good day, Ian.
Afternoon.
Hi, Ian.
Hi. Hi. I experienced what Annette said yesterday. I joined in halfway through the conversation and just listened.
Mm.
Mm.
So, Will, in your experience with your neighbor and your experience of yourself, it takes me back, and I'm speaking about something that I don't really know enough about, but it's just a short part of it. So I'm sure most of you've heard of the philosophy Stoicism. Right? So it was developed by an emperor, I think he was Marcus Aurelius, I think that was his name. And he had a stepbrother as a child. He had a stepbrother. Their personalities were very, very different, almost opposite. And when the king died, or the emperor died, Marcus became emperor. And in those days, you could, if you wanted to, choose a co-emperor, as it were, apparently. And he chose his brother. And everybody was freaked out because people apparently didn't like the brother very much. And they asked him why. And he said, "Oh, he's my biggest teacher." Now that is a man beyond my means. I would not have chosen that. But I remember it.
And it's like takes a willingness to love your neighbor, a willingness to love your enemy.
Yes. I mean, yeah, for sure. Definitely. I think there's also an in-between step, and that, because I can't get there. I cannot get to that extreme level of, what is it? Of destruction, ultimately, actually, in somebody. It's very hard for me. But what I have found as a stepping stone to that is to honor life and just acknowledge. And when you said you're so grateful that you had never been in a war, and I completely resonate with that. So that level of gratitude, that's not me. It's not what I have to deal with internally at this point in time. It ultimately is a part of me, of course, because everything is connected.
Can I share something, Allison, regarding that? Like with the war thing that you mentioned? Yes, I am grateful I haven't experienced war in the framework of what she has experienced. However, my life has been a war due to this internal conflict that my unconscious, this structure that my unconscious keeps recreating. And so, yes, I have been in war with my neighbors and with many people over the years, because I have felt victimized, and I've been in that victim orientation, that unconscious autopilot based on some experiences in my past. And so I know what war is like, war within and war without, on a very small scale. But yeah, I'm grateful that I haven't experienced the grand scale where there's actual bombs being dropped and bullets being fired.
But
I'm really realizing that conflict, that inner conflict, that's where it all starts. That's where it all begins. And so to free myself of that inner conflict, no matter what I got to do, like that's the intention. And it's not to problem solve. It's more like I just want to get back to who I really am. That, and you know, I wrote down the note. I am willing. I wrote down I am willingness to love my neighbor. And then I crossed out ness. And then I realized, wait a sec, that's what just came out automatically. I am willingness. So I get to be that. I get to embody willingness now. So maybe that's my word today. Willingness. Will.
That's
Use the
really
will.
powerful.
But the biggest war of them all is the war on our conscience.
Yep. That's right, G.
It's true, I think.
It's been going on for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's why it manifests externally as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good day, Mona.
Mona.
Good morning, Mona.
Good morning,
Mona.
everyone.
Morning.
Hi, Mona.
What y'all doing?
It's so good to hear your voice.
It's good to hear all y'all speaking too.
Mhm.
So, with all the voices I hear a lot of legends speaking.
A lot of what?
You too, Mona. We hear you. Some of us are just legends in our own minds.
Believe it or not, you're probably a legend in other people's minds and you don't know it because you've done or said something that has made them stop and think and change their whole way of being.
My purpose. That's why I'm here. That's why I came to Earth. And we get to share that. We all get to share that here because that's what this is Fireside Chat's all about. Go ahead, Jesse.
It was like, so like I'm working with seeing like the attachments, like what am I attached to? Like just to look at it and separate it. And it's like I can expectations. So Will, you said like looking backwards, we can be attached. Like there's attachments to the past. Without a doubt. It's like we're attached to what's happened to us. It's like my story, and there's no other story that's any more important than mine. And like when we shake it all out, that's really what it comes down to. It I also found that I could be attached to expectations. So that's attaching to the future.
And to outcome.
Yep. And it's all, if you think about it, it's all in the emotional realm. All the work to do, to be done, to live is in the emotional plane. first. I call that the being, like being, be, do, have. Oh, it's like, what do I have? I have irritation. Well, how am I being? Irritated. What am I doing? Fighting it, like resisting it, like it's like I'm here. I'm gonna give it back because I don't want it. It's like, oh, now I got all choices in the world, right, that I can choose from. But it just tends to be that I'm going to pick the ones that I've always done. Like that's just the easiest thing for me to do rather than to step into try something different. Ooh, good. That was a big release. So,
On that note, Jesse, do you know I was practicing the meditations here?
Yeah.
I did the call last night. The meditation didn't flow as well as it did here. And after the meditation, I completely my memory went blank, my mind went blank, and I just didn't know what to say. But luckily, well, not luckily, but there was another guy there that took over. But my mind just went completely blank. And it was like a part, what's it called? Like just parts of my unconscious came out. I was like, no. And my mind just completely went blank. And I just didn't know what to say.
But
But I just laughed.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Now,
It's like a
great.
parts take over. You know, like when they say about the parts take over.
Yes. Yes.
It's like a part, my unconscious, a part takes over, and it's like, no. And I just, my mind went completely blank.
Yeah, it's like that Homer Simpson thing where he's like, "I'm out of here," and you hear the footsteps go through a door and slam the door behind him.
Yeah, like, oh, great. It's like, so what am I doing? Like, what's happening? And maybe that could be your way of freezing. See, we fight, flight, we fight, we avoid, or we freeze.
I did feel that. I felt like my mind just froze, and I was like, because it was the first one I've ever done facilitating. It was just like my mind froze, and I just couldn't say anything, and I was like, and then the other guy took over.
I love that. I'm sorry.
What, like in here, there's a celebration here. So it's like, what would the old Ian have done?
Probably ended the call.
Yeah.
And said, oh, the signal went, sorry, it just went off.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like we get into I'm not good enough. It's like, oh, you wanted to do something, you did it, right? And it's like, oh, I'm attached to the outcome. And it's like, oh, it didn't go as good as I wanted it to. Oh, I'm horrible. I'm a horrible I suck. I'm, that blah 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 blah. That loop. And no, like you've let that go. And it's like, look, that's what I did. Fascinating. Why? Oh, what could it have been? Not defining what it was. What could it have been?
It just felt like a freeze response, and like my unconscious took over, like parts.
Yeah.
And I just, my mind never gone completely blank like that before. It was the first.
Lucky.
And now
Ian,
you know.
I have a question for you. When that happened and you got out of that room, what were the feelings that were showing up for you?
I was just like, oh, well, I've learned a lesson. I did feel like maybe I'm not ready to do it, but I know that's my unconscious agenda. Like, No, don't do it.
Yeah.
What's interesting about that is you were in a group of people that you've spent a lot of time with, and you felt comfortable doing it here. So there was a different, you were speaking to another audience in a different way.
No, they're actually like Joe was on the call that comes here, so I know him. His friend that I know, and a guy called Michael off my net of mine, because only 3 people turned up, and I actually know them well. So it was like, I don't know, I just froze. So I actually do know them.
What I found wonderful about the story also is that somebody else sensed what had happened and brought in what you at that moment in time were blocked from bringing in.
It was time for someone else. I mean, it happens all the time. It's like when we're with others, it's like someone needs to, like, there's an urge that people need to speak.
Yes.
Hey, and that's what I say. I'm going to say that's what I say is the problem with today's quote coaching market world, self-help world. Not therapy, not professional help, but like this personal, the internet coaching world, right? Is that they all sit there and tell you. So you're actively engaged 10%. And if you like engage and speak, like participate, it goes up to like 60%. Huh.
So, Jesse, here's something that I just kind of was thinking about yesterday about coaching. And even with the program that we were all enrolled in, and how it was a push to become a coach. And I knew right away I would not want to be a coach. And yesterday I was thinking about why. And it was because how can I coach somebody that where I am not 100%, what's the word? I don't want to say the word fix, but I think you guys know where I'm coming from when I say that. How
Yes.
can I coach somebody on something that I am not fluent at in my own life? Maybe that's
Yes.
better.
Exactly.
Right. And people with sharp intuition can pick up when a coach themselves is not fluent in what they're trying to coach you with, because it becomes forceful words as opposed to coaching. It becomes opinionated, and that's where they've crossed the line from coaching to telling.
Yep. And that's not coaching.
No.
Coaching is questions only and listening. Like Jesse generally tends to create that structure here, which is beautiful. That's why we're here.
Yes, that's why we're here. Questions
Every day. Or, it's like every day. It's like, oh, so the program or other programs, right? They do once a week, right? Or, let's just work it that way. It's like, oh, 1 hour every week. Here, right? We have 14 to their one. Maybe it's 10, maybe it's only 7, but that's 7 times.
And we don't have to be an expert on it. It just has to be
No.
fluid. It has to be fluid in the sense that we can rein ourselves back and sense when we are not coaching, when we are telling, we're giving an opinion versus asking questions. Like you said, listening, asking questions, asking more questions, just trying to open and expand the thought of the other person so that they can view it from another perspective. And it might be a perspective within the perspective, but it's just very closed.
Yeah. It's like a coaching program that's equal. Like everyone that's in it is equal.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's something different.
When I started the program, in Mona Lynn, I'm going to use you because you are the best example for this. When I started that program, I met Mona Lynn, not directly, but indirectly, because she was attending some of the same weekend events that I was. And when she spoke of with openness and with understanding, different than other people in that group. Now, she had joined already earlier than I have, a couple months prior. But then there was the first time I was in a breakout group. I think there was 4 of us, and Mona Lynn was in that group. And when she spoke, we listened, we learned. And yet then I was in breakout groups with other people who were not asking questions. I didn't want to learn from them because it was all directive type information. They were telling me rather than asking type questions. No, you have to do this. No, you have to do that. And that's when we started learning about the ego and all that other stuff. And, and it was getting the strength to point out that, is this your ego that's telling me this? And then I would leave it as an open-ended question, right? And then that would just not change the subject, but it would open it up for a realization as to the type of quote unquote coaching that one was getting in those breakout groups. There's some breakout groups I just did not like because the people I found, just some of them, just it was all about very robotic questions and then a lot of personal opinions about what they feel the other person should be doing. And I was not comfortable with that.
It's like 90% do and 10% being.
Mm-hmm.
Like 90% all about this is what you need to do.
Yeah. And what was so neat when that first breakout group that I was in and Mona was in, I remember thinking to myself, I would like to meet this lady. So I manifested this, Mona Lynn, that I meet you, which I did eventually, but under other circumstances. And that's just the cool thing about it. We can manifest people into our lives too.
Only if we see it possible.
Yes, but we can manifest different types of people and unfriendly people into our lives.
Mm-hmm. It's like we can manifest peace, joy, wonder. All of those things we can, like, everyone wants that in their life.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not, it's not how we just, to get it, it's not what we think it is.
But as we can manifest them into our lives, we can also manifest them out.
With that, replace, always replacing.
Yes.
And
that
let
one,
go.
And the best part is when they leave, there's no void.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best part.
Yep. And that's where our attachment comes in, right? There's the attachment. It's like, oh, I'm afraid if I let that personality go, right? I don't know what's going to come in the middle of it. I don't know what's going to take its place. And it's like faith that it's just going to be better.
And yet they leave, and it's like, oh, there's no hole there. This is cool. There's
Really.
peace. What is there now? There's more peace.
Yep.
Let me sit in this and observe this for a while.
And like like in reality, we don't let it go. All we do is see the other side of it. It's like, oh, we like, oh, there's that. And then it's like, oh, but then there's this. That's why I was so attached to it, because I needed to see this, but I was so attached I couldn't. We do the same thing over and over again. That's insanity. Insanity is just unresolvable desires, unresolvable structures.
But we get to pick our insanities.
And we did pick them. And we can let them go. We can see new ones, right? There's all sorts of things we can do unless we're attached to being fixed.
And being right.
That's like number, so the first one is like no, right? We hear no all the time. So like what's the opposite of no? What's on the other side of no? Like to let go of the attachment. One is to be aware. It's like, oh, whenever I say no, that's right. What if I said yes? Huh. That's the only way to see through the no. Is to say yes. And so it's like if it's anger, it's like the only way to see through the anger is to laugh. See, it's the opposites, right? It's just that we get fixed on one side of it without saying like, oh, what's the other? What's the rest of it? What's on the outside of this attachment?
What's on the other side of loss?
Mm-hmm. Wonder. Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm going to lose that personality. I'm going to lose that safety. And it's like, oh, but what's the opposite of lose?
Win.
Gain. Yep, gain.
Gain.
It's like, win, gain, expansion, right? Like all sorts of words.
Just making some notes here on some realizations, and something that really pops here that I thought would be nice to share is there's this unconscious structure, which is actually very polarized. And it's like, I want, on one side, it's I want this, thing, outcome, whatever.
Yep.
And then on the other side of the polarity is it's either I can't have it or I'm not allowed to have it. And it's just this pendulum swinging back and forth, going, I want it, I can't have it. I want it, I can't have it. I want it, I can't have it. But in the middle of that, if you just get out of that structure, detach from that structure, there's the superconscious structure. And it is, I choose this, and then go for it and start creating it and start taking action. I choose this, and that's it, period. It's out of the polarity.
Yes, because sorry.
Go ahead, Annette.
I was going to say, because you don't have to validate it. I choose this.
Yeah.
You don't have to say why. The why is because I choose it.
Exactly. Because I love it. Because I would just love to create that.
Yeah.
Because it's in my heart. It's who I am at my core. Mine. Makes me giggle, Jesse, because that's something my dad used to say. Mine.
Was he of German background or European background?
Yeah, Hungarian.
Hungarian.
Hungarian and British.
Your mom must have been an interesting person. That sounds like an interesting combination.
Yeah, my mom is still alive. My dad passed in April. um, and I'm seeing my mom very differently now because my dad mostly did all the talking. And so my mom is now doing all the talking. And I'm seeing a little more of who she is choosing to be. Yeah, and that's a whole nother conversation that I'm not going to have here.
It's interesting how others influence us in our lives.
And then you wake up at 48 and go, whoa, what? WTF?
Right?
I'm sure many of you have already been through this.
Yeah, my mom passed away and my dad came out full force, and I'm like, just what you said. Whoa.
Yeah. WTF? Question mark, exclamation mark.
Capital letters, double size on that. It makes me appreciate my mom in a different way than I did when she was alive.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's for sure.
I hear you, Mona.
That's for sure.
It's funny, the polarity is like I was sad when my dad was alive because I felt very victimized by him because of his experience and his structures and the structures that I formed. And then now that he's gone, I'm sad that he's gone. And there's this sadness that wants to cry that's just beneath the surface in every moment.
Visit consumercellular.com today. I get that because there were a lot of times that my mom and we were at big odds, but
Sorry, somebody's got a radio or TV on in the background. Can it get switched off?
yes, it can actually. It's probably me.
Sorry,
Thanks,
thank you, Mona.
No, you're fine. I didn't realize it was that loud
Sorry.
because my roommate has a hearing issue, so he listens to it at like 70, and I had it down to like 20.
Oh boy.
So yeah, my mom and I, even though we were at odds when she was alive, there was a lot about her that I appreciated. And since she has passed, I appreciate her in a different way and more actually than when she was alive. I miss her as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's weird.
But she was going through chemo for quality of life, and that was no quality of life. So her passing was to her benefit.
It's a hard way to go.
Yes, it is. It's not a pleasant way to be in that situation, and it's not a pleasant way to be in observance of it either.
No, that's for sure. There's just no dignity in that. Well, I guess there can be. There can be if we choose that.
Well, she did it in a very
tough.
dignified manner.
Oh, that's awesome.
So you're right. You can choose dignity, and she did. We used to tease her about never going out of the house without makeup, but when she got sick, that was like she needed to get up and do that. She wasn't letting this going to beat her. And her first round, was cleared, and then the chemo actually opened her body up to a second kind of cancer they couldn't treat.
Wow.
Mm.
Oh, boy.
So I'm hoping that I don't ever have to be in that situation, because I don't know what I would choose. But yeah, she
Well,
wouldn't get it without
there's
putting on her makeup. I'm sorry, Will.
Oh no, I'm sorry
No,
for
you're fine.
interrupting.
So she just chose dignity in the very best way possible for her. And that was her thing.
That's one thing that others can't take away from us, is our ability or our right to choose how we show up and how we frame things. We could choose to attach, or we could choose to detach from whatever it might be, a story or circumstance, or a war within our body or a war within our mind. It's an opportunity. We get to choose it. We get to choose today. We chose to be here and share our stories here at the Fireside Daily with Happy Jesse. Can't thank you guys enough for the conversations here, and it just fills my cup. And I came in this week with very unhappy, and I'm starting to find my happy again. So thank you guys.
That's wonderful. Well
The
done.
support. And it's funny, because even in the midst of sadness, there's still, at our core, there's still happy. You could still be happy, sad,
Mm,
and it's okay.
mm,
It's like coming here is like having a hug, but a
mm,
hug on the spiritual side.
mm.
I'll send you another virtual hug in the chat. Oh, there we go. There's hugs for everyone.
That's cool. Oh, well, coming here and talking about those things just also displays your strength, because you're not internalizing it. You're trying to find a way to work with it within your own body, letting it out, as opposed, like I said, as opposed to internalizing it.
Yeah, I know where that road leads. It's a
Mhm.
very dark hole,
It is.
and it leads to death. And I've already been there too much, and I get to choose now. So thanks for holding the space.
Well,
Mm.
I'm so happy that you showed up today, Will.
It's funny that as a baby, we didn't question whether we're lovable or not.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. But we are. We are lovable.
And it's funny, like after my dad's death, I realized how much he loved me. It was just a really messed up way of how it showed up. But I see it now. I just see how much he loved me, how much he loved my mom and my sisters, his family, people in general. But he was hurting. He was suffering inside, and he compensated for that by telling jokes and trying to get people to laugh and see the bright side of things.
I love you all. I just wanted to say that. And you, Mana. I
Thanks,
love
Ian.
you all.
Beautiful
I think
share.
about you guys all the time.
I'm gonna call my mum and dad today, so thank you.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. You know, I made a decision, I think it was November 8th, 2023. I'm like, I'm just gonna show up at my dad's house, my mom and dad's. And it's like an hour's drive. So I drove there and I knock on the door and he opens and he was surprised to see me because I had estranged myself for about 4 years. But like we had reconnected a few months earlier. However, I just showed up and I surprised him and I just wrapped my arms around him and I just told him how much I loved him. And I'm grateful that I did that now.
Mm.
In hindsight, you know. So make sure the big lesson is like make sure you let the people you love know it, show it. Because we're not always going to be here indefinitely.
I just feel with my parents, I love them, but I'm the one that always has to show them that I love them.
Yeah.
Like I'm the one that has to make the first move and has to. But I am going to. I went for a day out with my dad the other week, and I went to see my mum as well. So I'll call
Have you
them
told them
today.
that, Ian?
No.
Hmm.
My mum gets very defensive if I say anything critical. So I don't really say anything because she gets really, but I know that's her wounding, so the slightest like thing critical, she gets really defensive. So my dad's all right, he's more like chilled out, and I can say it to my dad. So thank you for bringing it up about calling my parents. And I appreciate them more, so thank you.
It's like we can appreciate them, enjoy them, be with them, or be resentful, angry, and mad at them.
Yep. Attachment.
Look, that's the choice, right? We don't realize that we always have a choice because that
What's the
attachment.
structure? Eh? Oh.
Yep.
It's like the attachment to the structure. For me, was always I want love and I can't have love.
Yep.
So it's destructive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like what's it creating? It's creating conflict and destruction.
That's the insanity. It's the unresolvable. That's why it's unresolvable, because it's like, if I'm loved, then I can't be loved, right? It's like, oh, it's this tug of war. Never satisfied, never achieve, never getting it, seeing it, allowing it. Kalis, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you.
Wow, look at that spark.
Morning, Taylor.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Nice to meet those of you I haven't met before. This is a big group. That's wonderful.
Yeah, I don't think I met you,
Mhm.
Kalis.
No, I don't think so.
Where are you from?
I'm living in Toronto.
Oh, nice.
Allison is my mom.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So just moved them out to Kitchener last week, and I'm in my own place for the
Cool.
time now. So yeah.
You have a
Oh,
very enlightened mother.
oh, whatever. Just
Yeah.
kidding.
Just
No,
my opinion.
no, she's wonderful. She's the best. I miss her. I miss her tons. Yeah. I mean, and not to say that I haven't lived on my own. Sorry, just to clarify, I'm 27. But this is, now there's no home base to retreat back to in emergencies. So kind of adjusting to that. Um, yeah, but I mean, the day is looking good so far. I woke up naturally about a half hour ago feeling rested, which is the first time that's happened in a little while with all of the change going on. So happy to be here.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm
And
in
just,
BC, Canada, so just kind of the other side of the continent.
Oh, are you? That's
Yeah,
fun. I have so many loved ones there. How's the weather been, if I may ask?
yeah, it's actually been pretty nice.
Show off. It's been freezing in Toronto.
Oh, really?
Kelly, can I just add also that at the moment you're recovering
Yeah.
from concussions?
Yeah.
So it's given opportunity for her to find out why I join so much in the mornings.
Hmm. It has. No, it's been yeah, it's been really great when I have joined, and it's a nice way also to keep something constant from when we were living together to now.
Mm.
So I'm happy to have been invited.
But like to, I don't know about others, but I like to call our group a bunch of heart-centered creators because we do our best to create from our heart as opposed to our head. So that's kind of who we are, who we get to show up as here. Get to show up in our heart.
Mhm.
And we all hold the space for each other to share if you feel so inclined. And Jesse, who hosts this, is very eloquent at asking questions that prompt um, exploration. It's awesome to have you here.
I'd agree with all of that through my experience. Happy to be, yeah, I'm at the moment, I'll offer this up for any insight or questions that you guys might have to help me along. But I know my mom talks about like a wobble, a wiggle, and a giggle. And I had quite a wobbly week. Like I'm struggling. There've been a lot of changes, right? Like I had a concussion and then a brain injury. And then I left my station. I was working up north. And then there was a breakup and then the move and then a new relationship. And then a couple days ago, another breakup. And um I'm I don't have anything to anchor me other than you know, my mom's been encouraging me to anchor me within myself. And I've decided, I think I realized yesterday that creating is exactly what I need to do. I used to do a lot of art, and I think that doing it now is probably the only thing which will like kind of allow me to connect with that part of myself that's like been constant. I didn't know where I was starting with this, but now I've realized that I think I'd like to do a scene of like a campfire.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
That sounds wonderful. Okay.
It's
Beautiful.
Hmm.
Your creative aspect is crying to come out and express.
Definitely.
And if it's good enough, we'll put it on the we'll put it out there on the page. Yeah, it'll be kind of like the logo. If it's good enough.
Yeah, it's got to be good enough.
Gotcha. Yeah, my style is not so much logo, but you can consider it once it's done. I'll send it over.
Yay.
What if it's not good enough though?
Okay.
Who gets to say if
There's
it's good
always
enough or not?
yes and yeah, right.
What was that?
Was that Jesse?
Yeah, I was laughing at Will where he said who gets to decide whether it's good enough or not.
Oh, yes. Actually, this is an interesting question. If there is a decision, how would it be a vote amongst those who are present, or would it be Jesse's decision, or would it be? I'm curious.
Well, if we ask the ego, it will be Jesse's decision because he's always right. Always right.
Oh, well done. Well done.
Thank you, Heinz. You are learning. You are learning. I mean, if anybody's picking up anything in this group, it is definitely Heinz.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me. I'm done. That's funny.
Wobble, a
I missed the
wiggle,
last
and a
half
giggle.
hour. I was talking with my
Yeah.
I'll
son,
have to figure out what to do with it. Yeah. Sorry, Heinz.
Well, I missed the last half hour because I was helping my son with something. Anything special happened?
Canis came.
What I'm seeing is a little is a fire
Yeah.
in a in a circular, whatever those things are called, those stone structures that
Yeah.
fire bowl, whatever. And inside the fire are the words a wobble, a wiggle, and a giggle.
Oh, that's a nice idea.
I don't know, that just came to me. I'm not saying you have to do that. It's just
No,
what I saw.
yeah, that's cool.
That is so cool. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the wobble. So I think of the wobble as like the top that we would spin as a kid, right? You'd spin it and oh man, that thing just goes forever, but eventually it wobbles.
Yep.
It falls over, right? It's like it runs out of momentum, right? It stops spinning, moving in a sense, right? And so it's like, attachments, what we are attached to, what we are attaching ourselves, our definitions, our meanings to, creates this wobble.
Yeah.
It's the structure. Our structures create this wobble, and we don't know how to deal with it in general. Something happens. Look, there's out there and in here, right? Which one leads?
Yeah.
The one you give the power to.
That's right. The one you're attached to.
Right. Wow.
And so all the wiggle, so then it's like, oh, so if I see the wobble, what do I need to do for the wiggle? See the other side of it, see through it, see the opposite. That's the wiggle, because the wiggle just, you wiggle and it gives you enough room. Oh my goodness, I saw that I was just fixed on that. I was stuck on that. It had to be a certain way. It's just my attachment of how I see it. But when I see the other side, it's like, oh, I can pick anything between there. What it does is it opens space. I mean, it happened here on the call. I said, oh, that was a big release. It's like, oh, released it. And then it's like when we know that it's been released, right? That like you hear the wobble, you can hear people's wobbles just in their voice. When they're talking about something, you can hear it. And then it's like, oh, well, just let's have them see something bigger, right? Something different. See the other, how do we help them see the other side? And when they see that, then it's like that wiggle, boom, it opens space. And it's like all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can let that go. Bingo. And then it's like, now what you want to, then you move on. And the way really reason we know let go is you'll hear a giggle in the voice. You'll hear a giggle. And sometimes it'll be an actual giggle, but sometimes it'll just be a lightening. So, right, we gather in wonder. It's an invitation to gather together. We break through, we let it go. The wobble, wiggle, giggles, the breakthrough, right? And then we scatter. What do we scatter? We scatter brighter and lighter. That's the campfire. That's the fireside campfire. And I about kept going through that red light. Good thing I stopped.
There we go. I just did a quick little sketch for myself, but here it is for you guys as well if you like.
All
I am a
right.
terrible artist, but it's just
You have your logo.
boom.
I like it.
But
Well,
I'm
you
more
need to save
artistic.
it for me. So, look, I've been working with ChatGPT to draw pictures as a result of our conversations.
Ooh.
Very nice.
So much better if it comes from members. Because the AI, there's certain parts they're not so good at. Learning,
Yeah.
right? Learning. We're all learning.
Yeah. It's
Right.
like a child though. It's like maybe a 1 or a 2-year-old child right now. It's not it's growing up, but it's gonna take time.
That's right. And it's like we are in a way, we're all putting our voice signature out there for the world to see, for the future to look back and say, oh, look, that's where it all happened, was at the fireside camp.
Boom.
All right.
Fireside Dailies globally.
And
firesideglobal.com.
it's like 2 years ago, November 7th will be 2 years. And it's like, all you got to do is go back to listen to a few of those and see how far you've come.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey,
Which is
and
why
what
it's
a
on there, which it's information. Like AI can't pick up on the sentiment, the emotion yet. They can't hear it in the tone, but I can tell. Now they'll train it to get there, right? Eventually.
yeah.
And when they do, right, we will have a whole history here of transformation.
Yes. Because we've
Because
all
people
shifted.
people always want to know, like they all want to see the outcome, right? It's like, that's the outcome. This is what I'm after. So if we want money, we listen to people that have money. do you listen to people that don't have money?
Nope. Unless you're foolish. Sorry.
What? And there's a lot of people that don't have money that will make you believe they have money.
Yeah.
So that they listen to you.
It's because they identify as millionaires. Now, don't put them down for that. That's not legal.
Mm.
Dun, 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 dun. But I tried that with my bank. They wouldn't wouldn't really put $1 million into my account just because I identified as being a millionaire.
Darn it! It didn't work in that world, but it works in my world when I listen to them and I do just what they say. It's like, oh, it just pours in. How about for you guys?
No.
Crazy. Like, do you see the insanity, the unresolved patterns that that one, they keep getting fed.
Yeah. It's called do something you love. Well, it starts with being, obviously. It starts with the being in the end result. You choose something, and then you start taking one step gradually, and you start to climb that mountain. And whatever that destination is at the top of the mountain or beyond it, it's one step. Just take one step. Just take one breath. Today, all you have is now. And so, am I moving toward what I love? Am I doing that action step that I intuitively know will start to generate a result? Or am I just not? Or am I getting distracted by the unconscious structures that pull me out of my creative journey? And am I spinning my wheels because I keep getting caught in the attachments to the unconscious structures that have run my life and generated so many problems to solve that it's unfathomable? Yes, and that was a little bit of a wobble. So I just allow the light to flow down into my body. Imagine 300 feet up, there's this light that's flowing down like a shining sun, bright white light that flows down into my crown, into my body, through my body, and circulates within my field, filling me with life force. I get to remember that this is who I really am. I am powerful. I am not my past. I am the light. I get to be that today. I get to show up in my heart and create from this space. Be who I was born to be. Be who I came here to be. Yeah, the stories will always be there. The suffering will always be there. But that's in the past. I remember I get to make it up. I get to create what I choose today. And it's okay if I feel sad. It's okay if I feel happy. It's okay. I just do one little thing today that'll move me in the direction of what I choose to create. And then I get to do, hopefully, if I continue living, tomorrow we get to do it all over again. Woohoo! It's just one breath after the other. One more breath. Keep breathing in this life force. And then giving it back so others can receive. Breathe in the life force. And then give it back.
I think you just gave us your purpose. Well,
Yeah, that is my purpose. send out the ripple into the pond and give back, give it. And when you give it, it fills your cup. Why do I feel empty? Well, because you're not giving. You know, that's my story. I'm here to give. That's who I was born to, what I was born to do, who I was born to be. Give of my heart. I found when I was going through I was going through some files after my dad died, and in this file box, I saw this folder that, like, had my sister's names on it and had my name on it, and like we each had our individual folders. And my parents had saved drawings and like things that we drew and created, and like report cards and things, like little childhood memories. And I found this one drawing that I did. I must have been, okay, I don't remember it obviously, so I must have been very, very, very young. And it was just all these hearts that I had drawn on this page. And I wrote, like, I like you, Mom. I love you, Mom. And then I wrote on a different one, I like you, Dad. I love you, Dad. And it was just all these hearts drawn on the page.
Hmm.
And then I did my first actual painting as an adult, like in my 40s. And it was a heart. And I've got all these heart paintings now that I've done. And then I hear this heart-centered creators thing from the program that we're in. I'm like, what the heck? Why does that resonate so much? And then I'm like, okay, well, why don't we just create a chat so we can all stay connected? Because that's who we really are. We're heart-centered creators. We love creating. We love connecting, and we love sharing inspiration with each other. We love having that space, creating that safe space to share of our heart, because we know what it feels like to be hurt. So that's why we're all here. It's a creation. Sometime complete.
Thanks, Will. So I hear a question for you is like, when I'm going to go back to the give, it's like, I'm here to give, right? I give. It's like, yeah. What's the other side of give?
Take. Receive.
Well, I'm looking for a specific word.
Like take?
Mine.
Oh, mine. Mine. It's mine to give.
See? Now it's on the other side. Yeah.
It's polarity.
It's mine.
Mine. Mine. Now I can give it.
That's interesting you picked up on that, Jesse, because I picked up on something very similar too. And my question for Will is, before you give to somebody else, are you giving to yourself? Or are you dissipating your own resources to give to others, and then you try and fill up your own cup after that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
So I'm going to ask the question, what's the purpose of that?
It's the structure. It's I'm not enough.
Okay.
So I must give to the point of total depletion and exhaustion, and then I'll be enough. But when you have people in your life that are like, very influential people that are takers, I call them. And you're in that paradigm with them of, I'm the giver, I have to be the giver, and because they're the taker, and you have to give. It's a structure. So thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah.
You answered the question.
Yeah.
You just answered the question.
Takers.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Givers need takers, and takers need givers. Ha, weird. Victims need perpetrators, and perpetrators need victims. Winners need losers. Losers need winners.
Darkness need light. Light need
Darkness needs light. Truth needs lies.
Yeah.
It's the other side of it. See, it's the attachment. It's the attachment to the polarity. All polarity is a feeling, right? A feeling. Polarity is, does it feel plus, like a positive, or does it feel like a negative charge? It's all in the charge. The emotions are only charges. I don't know why we're so afraid of emotions, like seeing them, naming them, calling them out. But if you think about it, we are not well trained to identify what emotions we're being. And when we get clear that all we want is an emotion, we want to feel something, that's all we want, we can ask, what do I want to feel? What could I choose to feel so that it's not coming from out there in here? What it's doing is coming from in here to out there. That's completely different. May not seem like much. And you may be telling yourself, oh, I do that. I'm always from in here to out here, right? Yes, your ego allows you to pick one side and stay there. Funny creatures we are. Because I can be right all the way up to the moment that I'm not. Oh, shit.
How does the ego handle that then?
The ego loves to be wrong. It loves to get its shit taken from it. And it loves to be told no and what to do. So, I mean, all those things are right on your side.
Scarcity needs abundance.
Yes. There's another big one. Fucking, I'm not good enough and good enough. That's a tough one for me. I mean, that's a big one in my life. Like daily, I see it daily. It's like, there it is again. There it is again. This is exhausting.
So how do you cope with that then?
I just say aware of, oh, there it is. There it is. What do I want? What am I looking for? What do I need? And it's at the soul level, the heart level's telling you something's off. You need to look at it differently. It's my willingness to look at it differently.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than being attached to the way that it is, right? Not the truth of the way it is, but the way it is that I'm attached to it.
So when you change your attachment because you're looking at it differently, your behavior would be a little bit different too. And that's where the other side gets angry because you're not falling into that pattern, that puzzle pattern that they're so used to keeping you trapped in.
The perpetrator, right? If you're saying, like, well, I'm not going to be the victim anymore, holy fuck, they're going to get pissed.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to double down. They're going to get they're going to do more abuse.
It becomes predatory then.
And like that's an extreme, the victim aspect. It's like
Yes.
it can be good enough. It can be all sorts of them that we have.
I'm dealing with a situation right now where I volunteer in an organization as a secretary of the organization. The organization decided on a discipline to a parent because it violated a parent code of conduct at a youth sporting event. As secretary, I emailed out the discipline. This person that received it has been very aggressive with communication back to me, to the point that they are editing things more so about demands that they want. I'm refusing to answer because it's not my position to answer them, because I'm just sending the information out. I send his emails to the discipline committee. It's up to them to respond. But because I'm not responding, or I respond with, we will get in touch with you in October, because this person wanted to appeal the decision. And I made one error in a date, because he said, you didn't answer my email from September 25th. When I looked it up, I actually opened up a September 24th response, and it was like, we will be in touch with you in October. And so my response was, yes. My response to your email was, we'll be in touch on October 24th. This person then went, I'm going to say the word apeshit, withdrew from the appeal, and then completely bombed on me as an individual, as an umpire, asked for or actually not asked, demanded my resignation as secretary of the organization because I made one mistake on a response. And after that, messaged me privately through the secretary email, not because everything else is CC to a group of people, just specific to me, and asked me a personal question about one of my kids. My kid is 27 years old. I responded that my kid is not familiar with who he's talking about, that I think he has the wrong person. He came back with more specific information about my kid. Now, this man lives 2.5 hours away from where I live. I've never met him, wouldn't know who he is. I did not respond because part of my original response as secretary, because of the aggressive emails I was getting, because I'm also chair of that appeal committee, and I try to be very neutral, is if I receive anything that is assessed as harassment, I just will not respond. So I did not respond to this private email that he was responding to. And 2 days later, yesterday, I got a one-word line and I got scared. And that's when I realized this. I knew the man had crossed the line with the second email after I said, I think you have the wrong person. When he came back with more information, I did not respond because he had stepped into an area that's my private life.
Jeez.
My son has nothing to do with the situation where he's suspended. He's suspended for the full season as a parent to attending the youth sporting event for next year. So I didn't respond. He came back with one sentence. I got scared. And so I went and got some help, but it was really, really hard to unattach myself from that and look at it. He's the perpetrator. He's looking for a victim. And
Yeah.
if you continue to communicate with him, you're a victim. But if you continue to ruminate about it, you are his victim.
Annette, may I ask a personal question?
Okay.
If that's okay. I don't, yeah, that came across wrong, but what I meant to say was, have you notified the RCMP?
No, but that's one of our next steps. Our organization is having an elected board meeting on Tuesday. I've already talked to the provincial body.
Okay.
So they are going to do an additional discipline because of what he wrote in his withdrawal of the appeal. It was just very offensive. And no respect for officials. Mine is going to be a separate issue, and where was recommendation about a restraining order on this man.
Wow.
Okay. And
everything unfolded just like a snap of the fingers. That's how fast they approach, and it's calculated.
Do you mean this individual, or
in the sense of his behavior is very calculated?
yeah.
It sounds like to me that this is not the first time he has pulled something like this off.
Mm-hmm.
No, and this is the type of behavior that he displayed at a minor, like a youth sporting event,
Mm-hmm.
where the officials stopped the game and had him removed from the venue.
So, again, have you notified the RCMP or pursued?
No, in Ontario we have the OPP,
Oh,
and that's who I would then communicate with.
okay.
His poor kid.
This kid, yeah, this kid is a youth.
This is a kid?
No, it affects
Yeah.
this man's kid, because this man's
Oh.
kid was playing sport. His
Oh,
whole
okay.
team was playing sport.
Oh boy.
And yet he still feels justified in what he's called the officials and how he behaved towards the official. Totally feels justified. I
Well,
have freedom
yeah.
of speech.
Wow.
Entitlement.
Wow.
But I just, yeah, I know that you're wise and experienced in life, and that you're gonna contact the appropriate authorities to make sure that legally you're safe. So
yeah. But it's the conversation we're having today about attachment that really, really is something I needed to hear today.
good.
Oh.
Right. So, because yesterday I realized how I was being drawn into it and staying attached to it when I really want to get away from it. So it was lots of short 10-minute meditations yesterday afternoon.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just blowing it away, just puffing it away. Right. And just little things like that, because you could just feel it coming in and affecting your nervous system.
Yeah.
You're reminding me of an experience that I had about a year ago, where I'm working in a fly-in community in Northern Ontario, and because everything that Jesse said about, or Will said about, like, leading with your heart, and like, I mean, that really resonates with me. It's how I operate. It's how the only way that I know to feel like comfortable in my decisions. And I've come in and out of trusting that, and at the moment I'm doing much better again. I would say since I think probably than ever, just like, growing up. But I assumed I had a tendency to, you can't ever know what's completely going on in someone else's world. And when I went up there, my expectation was that others were doing it as well. And I found myself in a situation where I was very involved with this couple, and then very suddenly realized that the man was very calculated, very manipulative, and quite dangerous. A fellow teacher. And I had this incident with him, which was very triggering. But in that context, what was really special is I'm so isolated. I don't have cell reception. The internet is, like, not really reliable. And this is before my concussions, right? And I was like, okay, I'm here to see, to find out if to force myself to rely on my own resources and to realize the wisdom that I have internally to, like, see to my issues, and so I didn't have the context of this group yet and the guidance, but I what I did instead of a meditation, because sometimes it can be so overwhelming. And I have a complicated relationship with meditation. Sometimes I just have a hard time doing it. But what helped me immensely was, I just went, okay, like I'm here for multiple reasons. And a big part of it is like reconnecting with nature. And so I was feeling very tense, anxious, overwhelmed. And I just went out for a walk on my own, walked down to the lake, the frozen lake, and like made myself a little seat in the snow to watch the sunset. And for me, I guess that's like my easiest way into meditation, right? As an artist, like to focus on the beauty of the world around me and especially of nature. So I just wanted to offer my account of that experience because it was so beautiful. And I was like, he can't take away from me my connection to the earth, which has nothing to do with anyone else or my social dynamics, you know? So I just wanted to offer that up in case you find yourself, maybe just like a more, just like a context that might assist in, loosening all that anxiety with those deep breaths is if you have the opportunity to go to like a trail or just a view where you can watch the clouds, something like that. From my experience, it is not an aid that should be scoffed at, because it can make a really big difference. So that was just a thought that I had.
Thank you.
That's why trees are so important for me.
Yeah.
They really do facilitate a dissolving.
I'm sorry, I know we need to close up too, but during the move, my father was really anxious and pent up and just kind of, freaking out about all the problems that might arise. And I just kind of flipped out at him. I was like, I'm taking, like, you have to go outside. And I kind of like maneuvered, kind of like, maybe kind of manipulated him into sitting outside. And then I ate a meal there with him. And then I was like, okay, I'm going inside. He's like, oh, okay, I'll come with. And I was like, no, you sit here and you listen to the trees. He's like, talk to the trees. I was like, no, listen, just listen. Sit here for at least 10 minutes and listen to the trees. I was like, I've had enough of this.
Good job, Kaylee.
Cool.
Yeah, it's and it's like at the core of it, right? We can call it what we want, but if you like, if you go to the essence of it, it's where can we find silence? Where can we listen to the silence? I didn't realize how important that was until I began working with each of you. And there was room to work the silence here with others. Whoa. And so whatever it is, to connect, because it is connecting within. And passion, what we love, what we enjoy, is the easiest way to connect, to align. And it was great response. It's like, well, do I talk to the trees? Like, do you see how much I feel like I need to talk? And it's like, I need to talk so that I'm heard. And now here's another one of mine. It's like, oh, when I'm heard, then I'm good enough. Like, that's my feeling. It's like, oh, when they hear me, I'm good enough. That never happens, right? They'll hear me, but it's unresolvable. And so it's like a fascinating, like, how much it's like speaking and listening, speaking and listening.
So what's our words of the day today that we want to, our intentional word of the day? Thank you, Jesse. Sorry, I didn't mean to dismiss that. Thank you.
I think I'm going to go with listening.
Go with awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Awareness.
Being receptive.
Like that one.
My word for the day is being reflective.
And my word is unattached. So letting go.
Nice.
The word that I was thinking of sounds like it would counter Jesse's, which is kind of classic for some reason, combative attitude towards him always, which is connected.
And they're both so necessary.
No, they are. I don't mean to actually combat you, Jesse.
Love you.
I love you.
I'll go with fun.
Nice.
Oh, lovely too.
Well, any parting words?
Have a great day.
Well, have a blessed day.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank you
everyone.
all.
It was wonderful.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you for a
Have a
great
wonderful
day.
day.
Great
Bye.
day.
Have a
Next
great
time.
Have a hug.
day. Bye.
Bye.